As promised in the previous lesson, I'm now going to show you some fun ways to outline the standard minor drop progression using single notes. And we're going to basically outline the chords with arpeggios. And I'm going to use alternate picking in the theory-friendly key of A minor, which you can transpose to other keys once you get the shapes down under your fingers. And I'll be using 2 notes per string and adding a color tone, the second or the ninth. This will give us a nice 4-note movable cell that you can transpose to different octaves on different pairs of strings, and it lends itself well to 16th note phrasing and 16th note triplet phrasing. So let's check that out. Before we get started, as a quick review, here is some chords in A minor that utilize the minor drop progression. So you have this A minor bar chord, and then A minor major 7, right? G sharp, and then A minor 7, G natural, and then you can go to A minor 6 with the F sharp, or instead you can go A minor major 7, A minor 7, D7, or like that. And with the bass drop, remember there's 2 versions. There's one where they have the bass pedal tone, and then one where the bass actually does the drop. So you can have A minor like this, then G sharp augmented, which has no element of A minorness to it anymore, right? Because you got rid of your A note. And then C over G, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, or you can go to D9. So you can go it's nice to resolve up to the 4-chord relative to the minor. And open forms again. A minor major 7, A minor 7, A minor 6, or you can go to D7 there. So you can go A minor major 7, A minor 7, D7. You throw in a high E string there, you get the D9. It sounds kind of elegant. And with the bass drop on the open chords, A minor, G sharp augmented. You remember from last time, I'm doing that shared fingertip fretting here, using my paw of my index finger to cover both the G and B strings at the first fret. C over G, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, or if you throw the open D string in there, nice, D9 over F sharp, okay? So that's our chordal reference, and now I'm going to show you the licks that outline that progression. Our first straight E example has us playing 16th note triplets across the top 2 strings. We're starting on a high 8 note, which then drops down chromatically, and we're going to pivot off the B note on the B string's 12th fret, which harmonically, that gives us our added 2 or 9. So we have that's it, and you try to work up the speed. See, this works well with, you hear I'm using a heavily distorted tone because we're playing single notes and trying to keep them separated. I'm doing noise suppression duty with some palm muting on the lower strings. You could alternatively start on the low note. I would use an upstroke for that because the string cross involved. I'm going to go down, up, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So you can either start on a top note or on a bottom note. Top note, I'm starting on a downstroke, and it helps to accent the note. Or on a bottom note, I would start on an upstroke. However you can get out of it, right? It's important how you resolve a lick, you know, you go out on a limb and then you have to do something that makes sense afterward. Our next example, we're going to add a note, the low A root note, on the G string's 14th fret. So I'm going to change the rhythm to straight 16th notes. So it's actually a slower example, but you can play at a faster tempo, therefore, you know, instead of going digga 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 digga, we're just going to go da 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 da. So we got And you could also start on the bottom note. I would start in a downstroke here. Strive for cleanliness. It's not easy, but it's worth pursuing. Another neat thing you can do, as I mentioned last time when talking about the chords, is instead of doing the minor drop, going from the minor to the minor major 7, to the minor 7 to the minor 6, you can backtrack after the minor 7 and go back to the minor major 7. To me, that's the most intriguing sounding one, is the second one. And you have. So your voice setting is. That sounds cool. You can kind of loop that, you know? Another thing you can do with this is take that 4-note cell and then just repeat it an octave lower on the middle 2 strings. So I'm shifting positions here. I'm using 4, 1, 2, 1, my fingers. And then 4, 1, 2, 1, 3 frets lower on the middle 2 strings. Now I'm going to pivot or bounce off of the low note here, the A note at the A string's 12th fret. And then change all my A notes, or both those, to G sharp, and then G, and then F sharp. So we have. Now here I did the drop on in the bass as well. So you have the 2 variations. Remember I spoke of having the pedal tone where you stay on A in the bottom note. But in this case, I went. So I dropped from A to G sharp in both octaves, and then to G, then F sharp. And you could also just do what I call the retrograde movement, where after the minor 7, after the third one, you go back to the second one. So. You could start on the low note. There's one little tricky move here is if you're going to do the minor 6, there's a little bit of a barring action there and rolling. It's a double stop. And once you practice a little bit, it's not that hard to do, but it can be tricky at first. That's the essence of the move right there. You know, these are the shapes we've been looking at in previous lessons. You know, that C major 7 flat 5 shape over F sharp gives you, as you recall, that F sharp minor 7 flat 5 sus4 sound. And as I said previously with the chords, try transposing these to other keys. The first thing you might want to do is just move it down a whole step to G minor. Or do the 2-octave version. might want to just isolate that one and just practice that one. Or you could do it in E minor. Now, this becomes more of a stretch as you move down the fretboard here. That's kind of weird. Dropping this middle octave down, to me, works best if you're going to do it in 2 octaves and you do the position shift. Yeah, and then remember to get that finger, scoot that index finger to cover both strings. It's anticipating the fingering that's coming up. Like whenever you anticipate a stretch, you know it's coming up, so you get your hand ready for that. Also, experiment with taking the first example I showed you, the triplet one. You can do each one twice like that, or just go. Try doing that on just the middle 2 strings. Sorry. Or do the retrograde movement where you don't go to the 4th one. The 4th one? You don't go to the 3rd one, you go back to the 2nd one. Or start on the bottom, on an upstroke. Yeah, make sure you emphasize the notes that you want to come out, the voice leading. And do it on the bottom string as well. Notice I'm using a lot of palm muting, especially as I get to the lower strings. It's so important when you play with distortion gain. You have to really put as much effort into noise suppression as in playing the notes too. And try going across 3 octaves. Wow, that's like a monster run, right? The key is making it work rhythmically. Fit it into whatever musical situation you're playing in. Typically, and I've said this before, shorter ideas are easier to use, to apply, because you can just fit them in anywhere. Not anywhere, but you have more opportunities to fit them in, like a simple little shred cell, like a 3 or 4 note thing, just maybe on 2 strings. Well, oftentimes you'll be able to fit that in, whereas doing the 3 octave thing, you'd have to find a special situation for that. Maybe the intro to a song or something where you have keyboards playing some kind of like atmospheric pad and you're just running up and down in free time. But be creative with it and add this to your arsenal of licks to use and abuse.